Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to our meeting today. My other two co-chairs are out sick, so it's just me today. So I'm going to run through everything myself and hopefully it won't be too boring. My name is Melissa. I'm the Technical Services Supervisor at Oak Brook Public Library. I do the cataloging and the acquisitions and Aspen management as well. So for the does everyone have a copy of the agenda? It was on the SWAN support site.
I can do that in the chat here.
Thank you, Tara. First on the agenda, a topic I wanted to discuss is browse category production procedures. I know everyone loves to talk about the browse categories, but I was wondering if other libraries, if anyone here has a library that rotates their browse categories, similar to what Oak Brook does. We have our public service librarians, they curate the lists, they choose topics based off of displays or current interest, like summer reading, certain themes like that. And what they do is they curate the list and they notify myself or the circulation supervisor to add the list as browse categories in Aspen, and they also notify us when they need to be removed. And what I am wondering is if anyone from other libraries have different procedures. Is there a better way that we could be doing this? And do your public service librarians manage the Aspen list themselves? I know there's only like 3 other librarians here, but I'll ask you. Does anyone have any different procedures?
I'll go. Can you guys hear me? I'm having mic issues. I apologize. It's only been, hello?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. For our browse categories, we have for our standard ones, the ones that kind of hang out in the catalog permanently, those are just refreshed by they're like, I don't know the correct term, they're not lists, they're just like searches that we have used to create browse categories, and those refresh themselves every day, and we don't really do any daily, or even we don't really do any maintenance on them, aside from making sure that they look okay. We do have a couple, we're planning to tiptoe into doing more sort of seasonal, for lack of a better term, displays, and those would be lists. And it sounds like we're going to have a similar situation to what you're doing, Melissa, where we have a browse category based on a list. We did do a couple seasonal type displays for like the winter holiday season, and those we timed out to like start at November 1st or whatever, and then automatically disappear on January 31st. The way you can set it to automatically pop up and then disappear, which is nice then. So if you forget when you get back from like the holiday vacation or whatever, we didn't have to worry about like, oh yeah, we have to update the catalog to get rid of all that kind of stuff, the winter Christmas season. But yeah, that's what we do. I don't know if that made sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. I know most libraries do their browse categories based off of searches because it is so easy, and you don't require any maintenance. But I think there are a couple libraries that when I've seen tooling around other library catalogs that do seasonal lists, and I'm just wanted to know their procedures. Does anybody else do anything different?
Hi. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So I'm actually in patron services at Hinsdale Public Library, so I'm not a librarian, but so at Hinsdale, what we do is we have for our browse categories, I think this is what you're talking about. We have a section called adult picks and then kids picks, and then anybody who works at the library who wants to can make a list that is featured within these categories. So recently I did one because I love reading romance. So I did enemies to lovers romance novels. And these have to be like approved by the librarian in charge in order for it to be put up in the Aspen browse category under adult picks. But it's really, I don't know, I think it's a really great way for different, I guess, employees at the library to get involved. I had a lot of fun making mine, and my coworker made one called Horror by Latina Authors, because horror is his favorite genre. So, you know, I think it's a lot of fun, and a lot of people at the library have been getting involved, and we have like hundreds of lists now.
And did you, you didn't upload it yourself though? You said that you're, the librarian in charge has to.
Right. Yeah, so we make them private first. So we start with the list itself, and we make them private, and we can like order them however we want and everything like that. And then we'll send it to people at our library, the head adult services librarian, or if I was making a list for youth services, I would obviously send it to the youth services librarian. And then also another member of our library, because he is in charge of Readers Advisory. And he also takes the list that I make that's featured on the website and turns it into like a printout that we have in different, like that they put in different parts of the library, like a little bookmark.
That's a neat idea.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it's, you know, it's fun to get involved for sure.
Sorry, I'm just writing something down. And for anyone here who maybe makes their own lists and then sends them off to another staff member to upload it, does anyone find that cumbersome or maybe inefficient? That's my concern, is that, you know, maybe we're taking steps we don't necessarily need to take. We were worried about having, you know, too many hands tooling around and making a mess of things, but I just wanted to hear from other people if they have opinions.
I think in my case, since I am not a librarian, it does feel like it's important that we send it to the head librarian in charge so they can approve everything before it's sent out. I also think because we have so many people making lists that it is important to have that one person for the like oversight to make sure everything is, you know, as we want it for our library. But I think that's just what works for us. I don't know if it would be different for other libraries with less people making lists.
I have, you know, full confidence that our staff members could manage it themselves, you know, that they wouldn't, that they could understand the process, but just want to make sure that no mistakes get made, you know, duplicate lists or, you know, a list being made over and over and filling up. But did anyone else have anything they wanted to say on the topic?
Be curious if anyone else is doing like tying print or website features to their Aspen lists.
Sorry, can you repeat the first part of that?
Oh, is anyone else tying like print materials and website features with your Aspen lists?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Charlotte, you said that you have like you create the lists in Aspen and post them as browse categories, but then you're also creating those kind of print like bookmarks. I think you said they go out, or a flyer.
Yeah, they're like kind of in between flyer and bookmark size, and we just have them at like I guess at the ends of the shelves in the library, just so patrons can see them and grab them. But yeah, they're always tied to the ones that we feature on Aspen.
I was just curious. I know Philip Park, I remember early on, they were tying their browse categories to the displays that they had around their library. I just thought that was like an interesting, you know, kind of tying some of your physical space and your catalog together.
Yes, we do that as well, especially if our browse categories are sort of lacking, and we're kind of running low on topic ideas. We just take displays that we already have and just throw them up there. All right, then we can move on to the next topic. This one might be a little bit short. It's Wikipedia and enrichment. It's something I had come across when I was, you know, doing my Aspen things, and I asked Tara about it, and I would like to show you what I am talking about. So I'm going to share my screen here. 1 second. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Now we can, yes.
Okay, so I had stumbled across this in Aspen administration. I use the cataloger's login, but I believe the other administration's login will be able to see it as well. And it's right here. It's third-party enrichment, and it was Wikipedia integration. And I had asked Tara about this, and she said that, what was it, Nashville has it turned on, and that this is what it looks like up here. So if you were to turn this on, when you search, is it only authors, Tara?
I believe it's just authors as far as I know, unless some things have changed since we looked at it last.
And this might be too nitty gritty, but author, like also maybe creator or director or like a person, or is it just book authors?
I think it's also creators. Yeah.
Okay.
Any of that,
So,
like
yeah.
that main creator that would appear in the search results that you can click on.
Okay. Yeah, so then if we were to turn it on, if someone searched Amy Poehler, this is, it would show up a little Wikipedia entry for it. And I kind of think that that's pretty handy. And if we turn it on for one library, Tara, do we have to turn it on for all libraries?
That is a great question that I should have looked up for this meeting. I think it is, I believe it is a system-wide setting. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a system-wide setting.
And before we get too far down the path, is it something that's even possible for us to turn on?
Yeah, so we could definitely turn it on. I will say we had it on and we turned it off. And the reason was every so often we'd get a essentially like the Wikipedia integration's not that smart. And Scott, our one of our bib services folks here today might be able to speak to this a little more. Sometimes you would get an author, and I have an example here. I'll pop that in the chat actually if you want to show it, Melissa.
Yeah.
Just found an old ticket. It's just looking up the author name in Wikipedia, and in some cases when there's multiple people that have that name, it doesn't always do the best job of sort of that differentiation between, the getting you the right author. So I just sent in the chat the entry for John Canty, and while he makes books for children, the description that comes up is for a trainer of racehorses. So and we have some tools, I think, to hide the Wikipedia information for specific authors if we do find that they're just not showing up properly.
Yeah, as a cataloger, I've definitely noticed, in workflows, when you would see the main creator listed, particularly for movies, or that it wouldn't be the most important one that's intuitive for a patron. So I can see where that would be a lot of maintenance issues on our end, trying to make it, what the patron is probably actually looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's just, we could definitely look into turning that back on, and it would just be kind of a matter of knowing it's always going to be a little bit of a game of whack-a-mole, probably.
Yes.
To see, we'll find authors where the information's incorrect, and we just kind of have to hide their information as we come across it. Is that something of interest to you all?
I think so, but I certainly can't speak for everybody.
I think it's cool. I just wonder if it would be beneficial because I guess patrons aren't necessarily searching our catalog for info. I mean, sometimes they are, I don't mean to assume, but I feel like sometimes if you're searching for an author, you're looking for books about the author or by the author, excuse me. Like if you're searching for historical figures, like if you looked for George Washington and a Wikipedia blurb popped up with information about that would help a patron, like as they were trying to find biographies or something that might be beneficial. But if you were searching for, I don't know, James Patterson, I wonder if the Wikipedia information would just be more confusing in addition to having an author that is so prolific that, you know, patrons already sometimes have difficulty finding his most recent work. You know what I mean? Is that,
It
I don't know. I
might
think
be-
it's cool, but
You know what, Melissa, do you want to show a search for John or for John? Sorry, for James Patterson.
Sure.
Just in like in Nashville or in the Nashville
Oh, in
catalog where
Nashville.
they've got the You can kind of see how it works here. So it doesn't show up unless you click on the name of the author.
oh, okay. Okay, never mind.
So it's
then.
like a little
Okay.
bit, it's a little bit hidden.
Okay, that's a little different. Okay. Okay. I like it then. Yeah, I just worry that if it wasn't an automatic thing, it would just be like this text that everybody had to scroll back by to get to. But never mind. Okay.
Yeah, and I can see where that could get a little cloudy, Julie, if you search any name, but it's not necessarily an author. Does it have to be in your author search?
No, it
Well,
could be
let's
a
find out.
keyword search.
Oh, well, you're right. You said that because you'd have to click on the author's name and then it would come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at in the menu, not the menu bar, excuse me, the URL bar, you'll see it switched to an author type page there, nashville.org/author, which is similar to like our dedicated series pages. It's like classified as sort of a different thing. So the word search doesn't get you there on its own. You only get it through the links, just like you only get those special series pages through clicking on series links. So yeah, it's a little strange how that works because they look so similar, but that URL is kind of a giveaway to tell you where you are.
And I don't know how useful this is, but I do like the picture.
I wonder if this is something we could bring to Ducks, because I do think that this would be an interesting thing to see if patrons like it. Because if it's just limited to like when you're searching for an author, that might be helpful. I also like on the edge there how they have this similar authors thing. I'm moving my mouse as if you guys can see that. You can't, but but I think that's kind of cool too. I don't know. And that would be cool too. But then at the same time, I just know that we get comments and I call them ads. I know they're not ads, but when you get into like past, what is it, line 4 or 5 of the search results where you get that banner page, I know that we have gotten comments that like that banner's not useful. We want to get rid of it. And of course now it won't show up. So then I'll look like I'm crazy. But I just worry that this would be another thing that patrons would have to push through to find the information that they actually are looking for in the catalog. But
I think you might
okay, they
mean
don't
that.
have that.
I
So
think
never
it's because
mind.
we're on an author page. And if you were
Okay.
in the search results, I think that's the you
Yeah.
probably get the that explore more bar.
Yes, explore more. I knew it had a real term. I know it's not an ad. I don't know.
This
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, that guy. I know that we've had comments that that's not, that patrons get confused by that staff wish it wasn't necessarily there or it was lower or things like that. So, but if this Wikipedia integration is not similar, if it does, like we demonstrated, just show up in author pages and author searches, that might be something worth looking into. I think it is cool. I agree with you, Melissa. I like it.
I've noticed on our end of it, when we look at the Wikipedia integration, here, it says that we have one, and this was confusing to me.
Yeah, I think that was probably just us really early on experimenting with hiding the Wikipedia information for an author. I'm just testing out that works. But yeah, I think I want to say it was probably in our Aspen pilot. It sort of came up as like some folks felt that at least that it was better to not have it at all if it was going to be inaccurate sometimes, if that makes sense. So I think the question for you all and like just for the membership in general is like, is it the fact that it's going to give you the right author most of the time, is that sort of good enough? And knowing we have a tool to like you see right here to hide the Wikipedia information for a specific author. Yeah, is that something we wanna pursue?
Tara, earlier you had mentioned a whack-a-mole, and I loved that phrase because it also reminded me of how the sort of whack-a-mole approach that at least we've taken to duplicate entries in Aspen. We have a lot of, you know, the what's the word I am looking for?
The group.
When you join the records together,
Group
the
records.
group records.
Yes,
That's the one.
yes.
Group records that are not grouped that need to be grouped. And we've just kind of, as we stumble across it, we fix it.
Yeah.
So this wouldn't be too dissimilar.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I was going to speak up and say the same, just because a lot of this would probably hit, you know, our bibliographic services team, but I don't think the impact of it would be nearly as, you know, intrusive as it was when we launched and got inundated with grouped works. I mean, these are almost like dealing with authorities, like you set it and forget it. So it's something that I think we could talk to that team about being ready to take on. I think it would be fine.
Just a question. So since it is system-wide, then obviously we would have to go to Swan if we found something that wasn't supposed to be there. So I was just wondering what the process would be with that.
This would, I mean, we could probably create a bibliographic request, like a work form similar to our bibliographic request forms and our grouped work forms, just to make that a little bit easier. Or just sort of the general purpose opening up of a ticket. They're simple enough requests that I think maybe a form that just, you know, here's the name, here's the Wikipedia URL. I think it fits with this name might be just sufficient for them. There's also the sort of idea that it is central, but just like with grouped works, we do sort of have other folks contributing to that kind of authorities database, so to speak. So, I mean, this could also be a similar thing where we could just sort of have our trusted users be able to do this on their own. So we'd have to sort of just figure out that process and let you all know. But I don't think it would be complex either way.
Yeah, I think we could definitely Dux doesn't meet for a while, but it might just be worth throwing up on the forums and getting some feedback from people. Especially since it's kind of I don't think it would be a terribly controversial change to pilot and try out. But yeah, it might be. Oh, go ahead.
So I'd venture to say that most people aren't even aware that this is a possibility.
Yeah, most likely not.
There are also other possibilities too. At least what I had seen in documentation that I'm not at all suggesting me to get into, but I think this is the New York Times settings. I think it's the list that they use, and just Aspen can do a lot more than it seems like it can.
We got a question about that. That's actually already set up. I think people just don't maybe know those lists are there, but they are, and some folks are using them as browse categories as well. Since they're just like another list you could add as a browse category.
Mhm. Okay, maybe then we can move on to our masquerade mode refresher. Sarah was, she had taught this at her library and they found it very useful. I can certainly do it if people feel like it's something they'd want to see. Since there's only a few of us in here, I'll ask first. Does anyone want to see a masquerade mode refresher? Or are you guys well versed in it?
I'm okay if you don't want to do it, but.
Oh, it's not that I don't want to.
Well,
it's just
I didn't.
I wasn't sure if Sarah was, she probably did have a better presentation than what mine would be. I don't know if she had wanted to do it and, show off her skills at maybe our next meeting. Impress us all.
Julie, were you part of that?
Tara, are you speaking to me?
Oh, I was asking Julie if, since you're at St. Charles, were you kind of part of that masquerade mode refresher at St. Charles?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't.
You just got one.
Well, actually, no, I wasn't. I would imagine that she kept that to more public services staff and her team.
Okay.
Because I use it so infrequently that I can muddle my way through just enough. but I can ask her if I have questions. But thank you, Melissa. I didn't mean to imply that you didn't want to do it. I'm sorry about that.
No.
While we only have a few library staff members here, I know that other libraries do view the recordings. Not saying that you should do it now, maybe if you want to add it to the agenda for the next time, so that, oh, I've forgotten who had the presentation at St. Charles.
Sarah.
Sarah. Maybe Sarah could give that during another meeting, or?
Certainly. Yeah, she probably had a whole, presentation prepared and you don't want it to go to waste.
I'd also be curious, like Gail or Charlotte, are y'all using masquerade mode much at your libraries, or does public services staff still primarily use workflows when assisting patrons?
I'm kind of 50-50. I think it depends on like what I'm trying to look at. If I'm just placing a hold on an item, and because usually my first thing is, because for me, I like looking at the pictures. If I'm searching for an item, I will search on Aspen. So usually, since I already have the page up, if I am going to place a hold on the item for the patron, then I will do it through masquerade mode. But if I'm like looking for, specific things, like if I need to see when the book was returned, if I'm trying to find it on shelf or something, then obviously I would have to use workflows for that. So I think usually when I am just searching for an item and placing it on hold for a patron, I will use masquerade for that. So I do use it pretty frequently.
And I don't use it at all. I don't check things out to patrons. I don't help patrons. I hide in the back and catalog and do acquisitions. So
When patrons come, I hide. Me too.
exactly.
Okay, then we'll jump to our next one, which is Aspen Quirks. This one's more of an open sort of discussion. If anyone has found anything that they've, any Aspen Quirks. In the past, we had mentioned that when you're making a list, you cannot put quotation marks or an ampersand in the title because then the list won't create. Has anyone found anything new? Silence is good.
Actually, there is something that I noticed recently on ours. Would it be okay if I shared my screen? Because I feel like might be
Absolutely
easier for me to explain
sharing
it. Sorry. Thank you so much. Let me see. Okay. Okay, so for us, when we're looking at new arrivals and like I click adult, sometimes like YA books or children's books will come up like here. And I know this is like, it's odd. I don't think we do this ourselves. I think it's just like, so we choose adult fiction, new arrivals, and what it's like auto-populating based on those two criteria. So I'm not sure why like children's books would randomly come up in this section, if this is a fault of Aspen or if this is something that we're doing. But this happens a lot. And I'm not in charge of making this section. Sorry, this is what I was talking about earlier. This is my enemies to lovers. Okay. But yeah, so that's just the issue that I've noticed recently. Here, I can stop the share now.
Hi, this is Scott. This has come up before, and I think it generally comes down to a cataloging issue. Most of those fiction, children's, adult categories are set at the item level. And so then those searches then happen looking at item information. And so the situation arises where if one library decides either via mistake or via choice of their own to assign their item adult, for example, or juvenile, when it doesn't match the rest of the items, it will appear in those lists, and it's a little bit frustrating. So I was actually going to look for an example, but then you close your screen really quickly because there was a good like no question title on there. Do you still have it up? I was going to search it and see if I could actually pin this down. There's a book called No or Not. No is all I know. Right. So I was just going to sort of give that a browse in workflows to see if I could actually prove this at all. Is that Chris Gravenstein?
Do you want to look at it in Aspen? Actually, I think.
Oh,
if
in
you
Aspen will do it too. Yeah, why don't you click through it? And then it's probably, well, it may be
probably in the staff view would be my guess.
Yeah. And you may have to go to
we may
the
have
book
to go
itself.
to the book. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of two things can happen. Like on the one hand, because there's an e-resource and there's a print resource here. And so sometimes the e-resource metadata is off and there's not a lot we can do about that. But generally when it's this error, we do find it in the print data. So if you go to the top and click on more info or show edition under the book, in the book format there, the little show edition under the blue button.
Sorry, I'm having trouble. Okay.
It's okay. It says on shelf, Hinsdale Public Library, juvenile new book.
Yes.
You see show edition. It's that white button under the blue button.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, good. There's only one. So hit more info now on the right. That'll sort of give us maybe at a glance what we want. Oh, actually, I just found it in workflows too. So I know that this is what the problem is. So go down to staff view and expand that, and then go all the way to the bottom of staff view. You get all this, oh gosh, it's so big. You get all this item information. And so you can find the juvenile versus adult is in subfield Z. And there is one edition.
I'll say I usually cheat and just do a Control F and search for adult.
Oh, there you go. I mean, that's intelligent.
Adult or JUV if it's juvenile. And then I know one of those things will. So if you do Control F on your keyboard and then type in adult, there you go.
Okay, so you got two new adults. It's not those. It's I
don't see actually that.
It's a WVD item with the call number of PB About Me Manners. PB About Me Manners, Gravenstein. It's that one that you're pointing at. So it's off screen a little bit to the right, and maybe that's not why it's popping up.
Oh.
But that happens to have a item category 2 of adult. I'm sorry, you can't see it. And I don't know why that is. It probably is just cataloger error in this, because this is clearly a picture book.
Yep, that'd be me.
Oh, Hi, sorry, I didn't realize you were on the line.
Yeah, call me out. It's okay. No, it needs to be fixed. It's most likely me. Let me put it that way.
Do you mind if I pop it over to juvenile right now since I'm in it?
Absolutely, go for it.
All right. So that's us. And so that's what we sort of are looking at with these situations is usually it's just one item. Sometimes like this, it's a picture book, it's very clear. Sometimes, you know, it's a teen book. Those can fall into adult or teen or juvenile. So it's just the choice that the cataloger made, and there's less we can do about that. But usually it's just a matter of seeking it out. And again, the phrase whack-a-mole comes to mind. But I can confirm now that for that particular book, now they all say juvenile. Every item on it says juvenile. I just did a little spot check, so it'll disappear from that browse category once this updates in Aspen, which happens probably within 15 minutes. So yeah, it's a unfortunate kind of situation, but similar to one we had in Enterprise as well. Whenever you sort of base things on item data, you sort of run that risk of, you know, a few errors like that. So feel free to call in, send a ticket when you do see things like that. This isn't a radio show. And we can, you know, bib services will sort of sort it out.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm further aware. Can we get that title again?
Yeah.
There's no.
No is all I know.
Thank you.
And Scott, is this how it normally goes? You know, if you see something that is, you know, a mistake, you change it. And then if you're not sure, you just kind of leave it, or do you ask the libraries?
We, on rare occasions, sometimes if it's like clearly a picture book and clearly in error, you know, it doesn't match the rest of their call number, then we'll change it because we kind of know. But if there's any doubt in our mind, we will come forward to the library to make sure, because we don't want to be mucking things up.
At least my youth services staff, you know, they're really particular about things like that. And that's why they prefer to build their lists off of items rather than searches. They want them to look exactly how they want them to look.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of good reasons also to use the item level information. I mean, it causes these errors, but then it also gives you more granular control, especially if your collection maybe differs from quote unquote the standard.
We can sort of open it up now. Does anyone else have any other Aspen question, topic, problem they'd like some help with? Okay, then I will plug our next office hours. They will be June 14th at 1 p.m. And, you know, I would really like to get more participation, you know, as far as Aspen users. That's really all of us basically in SWAN. And I know people must have questions and problems that they encounter. So if we could drum up more participation, I would love that. So if you could kind of reach out to your libraries too, if you know, get people to join, that would be wonderful. But if that's all we have for today, then I think we can end our meeting.
Wait, did you say that the date for the next Aspen users, Melissa?
You know what? The Aspen office hours is June 14th at 1 p.m. Yes, and the next meeting is in October, October 10th at 9:30.
Yes, the office hours are just like a release update. So we get a new monthly release, and you can ask questions about the changes. Yeah, the next meeting is October.
And Tara, I think you can stop the recording, and everyone can have a wonderful day.
I will stop the recording now. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.